是誰為愛世人願捨身？這禮物化作活存的心靈，幸福是接受和活出這禮物的真諦，教我學習愛到痛時就如遇見主。人一生最如緊，豔陽縱使多耀眼，如若沒愛，彷彿天空阻隔了光線的障紋。請潔淨我心眼，長留着愛的恩泉，清澈璀璨。
種嘢即係俾我一個係好大嘅即係喜悅咧，就係分享。
Because something happens when you put your hand in the soil. It connects you to God in a very special way, because God is in the soil.
啲俾我做大地主人，點解唔珍惜？
近年越嚟越多人關注到農藥、化學肥料、基因改造嘅農作物等等對人類健康嘅影響。唔少人為咗健康，寧願花多一啲錢都要購買有機嘅食物。有一啲人為咗食得安心，更選擇親力親為，自己栽種食物。居住喺多倫多嘅 Raymond 就係其中一位。
呢個係真實嘅，出邊嘅食物係好多農藥啦，基因改造啦，同埋真係唔知點樣種出嚟嘅。咁泥土又污染啦。咁我而家用有機種植咧，個原意真係想翻去大自然啊！自己種嘅，我覺得都唔係話好貴，但係個心安理得程度咧係即係好難想像嘅。
Raymond 喺1年前先至開始喺後院栽種食物，但係今年佢整個後院已經變成一個小型農莊，甚至仲添置咗溫室。
我記得我舊年咧，即係一開始嗰陣時候咧，我就同我仔咧就買咗個溫室就擺喺度。咁我整好咧，第一件事我就擺個十字架喺度啦。我覺得嗰個聯繫咧，即係同天主嘅聯繫咧係肯定有嘅，因為即係佢係供給食物俾我嘅人啊嘅神啊，即係俾我哋嘅，因為俾個地，俾笪地你，俾陽光，俾水。咁仲有咧，譬如話就算我淋呢啲嗰啲水咧，都係雨水嚟嘅。我係儲雨水嚟淋嘅。咁即係俾晒你嘅呢啲嘢，呢啲元素俾晒你嘅。我即刻即係能夠聯想到係一種白白嘅施予俾我哋嘅。
對 Raymond 嚟講，親自栽種食物，除咗自己同埋家人能夠食到冇添加、冇雜質嘅有機食物之外，最大嘅滿足感嚟自同其他人分享收成。
種嘢即係俾我一個係好大嘅喜悅咧，就係分享。即係種出嚟係可以分俾大家食嘅，有分享嘅。有啲朋友佢係有癌症啊，咁我係即係問佢哋你想唔想要啲即係有機嘅植物？咁我係有我就係會俾佢一兩個，即係唔係好多。咁我會俾即係盡量供給佢哋呢啲食物嘅。咁我認為係即係好啲咯。
喺佢栽種嘅眾多植物之中，令到 Raymond 最讚嘆嘅係一種叫做甜葉菊 Stevia 嘅植物。用甜葉菊作為原料提煉出嘅甜菊素，比砂糖甜200至300倍，但係完全唔含熱量，所以成為糖尿病患者嘅飲食或者瘦身食品常用嘅代糖產品。
記得我買翻嚟都係其實玩下啦，我覺得係我自己都可以食，唔使食白糖啊，唔使食其他糖。咁我就試下啦，咁我真係摘一塊嚟試下啦。咁真係好甜喎！即係甜得嚟，佢有少少青青地嘅甜啊。但係如果你想食糖，咁呢個係一個代糖嘅好方法咯。咁我係有啲 教友咧，佢都係有糖尿病，咁我都送咗俾佢哋嘅。
除咗能夠感受到同其他人分享自己收成嘅喜悅之外，栽種亦都帶俾 Raymond 一份內心嘅平靜。
我覺得種嘢係有一個即係心理健康治療嘅作用喺度。我成日都幾推廣呢樣，你種啲嘢啦，做少少園藝，你會即係個人可以咩啊，心平氣和啲咯，冇咁燥咯嚇。因為啲植物又唔出聲嘅，你鬧佢都冇用。
透過種植食物，Raymond 親身體會到大自然裏面每一個元素都係一環緊扣一環，亦都察覺到氣候正喺度發生緊一啲微妙嘅變化。
大自然嘅創造呢係有一個規律嘅，咁嗰個規律係有好多固定嘅元素喺度啊，缺一個都唔得嘅，係即係好似大家有個互相嘅關係喺度嘅。種咗嘢之後呢，係直接感覺到所謂世界變啊！舊年嗰個冬天係好溫和啊，今年係個夏天好似冇咁嘅。咁夜晚黑嘅氣溫可以喺盛夏嘅時候可以跌到12度嘅。咁12度啲植物係根本唔係佢嘅氣溫嚟嘅。咁直接有嘅。咁嗰個濕嘅天氣咧，影響咩咧？初春嗰陣時候好明顯，今年嘅蜜蜂係少好多，真係啲花都少咗嘅，又冇小蜜蜂去採花粉，咁所以嗰個即係已經個因素注定咧，個環境因素注定個收成係唔好。咁呢啲係直接就係話氣候變化嘅影響咯，直接你係感覺到嘅。
居住喺富裕地區嘅人講求飲食享受，任何時節都要享用到嚟自世界各地嘅美食，但係要將食物由原產地運到遙遠嘅銷售點，就要消耗唔少能源。運輸期間亦會排放大量溫室氣體，破壞環境。Raymond 見證到氣候變化對生態嘅影響，亦刻意將自己嘅飲食習慣配合大自然嘅節奏。
我好推崇當地嘅安省嘅農作物㗎，譬如話一開季啦，士多啤梨一出嚟啦，我就 hold 住佢就買士多啤梨。藍莓出啦，我又買；桃出啦，我又買。咁我係好中意嘅，因為係有明顯嘅味道分別啦，唔好講話有冇益啊嗰啲，明顯係新鮮，明顯係好嘅。當你食落去嗰種新鮮感嗰時，個心理係好咯。好堅信一樣嘢就係要時菜時果，即係當你冬天食到啲士多啤梨嘅時間，哇！食落去即係唔係味如嚼蠟嘅硬，即係唔香嘅，即係但係佢好大好靚啊咁樣。咁我媽媽細個都教我，成日都話不時不食，不時不食。越係大做嗰陣時，你越係要去食，因為嗰陣時最平最靚嘅。咁呢句説話即係留喺個腦嗰度嘅。
並唔係人人都可以好似 Raymond 咁，能夠喺屋企進行有機耕種。所以近年世界各地都越嚟越多人參與社區耕種，喺一啲由非牟利組織、社區團體、政府甚至私人提供嘅地方，同其他社區內嘅人士共同喺一塊土地上面耕種。聖約瑟女修會喺多倫多以東1個鐘頭車程嘅 Cobourg 市設立咗一個生態保育同埋靈修中心。呢一個中心除咗舉辦避靜之外，仲有用嚟做社區有機耕種嘅園地。Sister Linda 係呢一個園圃嘅負責人，亦都係一名生態神學教授。
We started with 6 or 8 plots, and we now have 80. And it's a good community of people. It serves in many ways. I insisted on organic agriculture when I started because that's part of my background, and because I know it's a holistic and safe way to produce food that is good for humans, but also good for the earth.
修女將園圃嘅租金定得好低，每一塊園圃每年只需要15蚊加幣嘅租金。原因係佢哋唔希望有人因為負擔唔起租金而失去栽種食物嘅機會。租用呢度嘅園圃嘅人嚟自社會各階層，亦都為咗唔同嘅原因嚟到呢一度耕種。 但係佢哋都感恩修女提供咗呢一片土地俾佢哋栽種食物。
Well, I guess the main thing is we get good fresh food that we know where it's come from and, what's in it and what's not in it and things like that. But yeah, no, I enjoy working in the outside and, some days like today digging up the potatoes, it gets the muscles going. Other days it's just kind of nice being out in the fresh air and stuff like that. So it keeps me active, so I guess that's another big plus.
Way back in the Philippines, my husband is a farmer. So they own hectares of lands. So that's why we know how to garden, and he really loves gardening.
除咗一般為自己同埋家人種植食物嘅人之外，修女亦都將其中一啲園圃留俾一啲特殊嘅團體使用，包括智障人士或者心理健康有問題嘅人。根據修女嘅觀察同埋經驗，耕作有治癒心靈嘅效果，亦都能夠讓人接觸到天主。
We have a couple of mental health groups and people that come here maybe that are mentally challenged, and yes, they don't always have the best garden, but they have a good relationship with the earth. They feel peaceful. Often I have talked to them, and at the beginning I would say, you need to take more care of this garden and things like that. And then I realized when they said, even for the people from this group home to come here and be out in the sunshine and to feel the earth, it gives them a blessing, a wholeness that they can't get in the city. Because something happens when you put your hand in the soil. It connects you to God in a very special way, because God is in the soil, the earth. God created it. How could God not be present? So that is the gift.
修女除咗將園圃嘅租金定得好低之外，仲有一個特別嘅條件，就係耕種者要將自己部分嘅收成捐俾市內嘅食物銀行，同有需要嘅人分享。有一次，當 Sister Linda 帶住一批新嘅耕種者參觀園圃，講解捐贈收成俾食物銀行嘅重要性嘅時候，其中一位耕種者講咗一番說話，令佢印象非常深刻。
So one of the new gardeners said, well, I want to tell the others that that's my story. I was having to go to the food bank, and whenever there was fresh vegetables, I was so very, very grateful, because you don't get fresh things when you have to depend on the food bank. But she said, this year, I have a plot, and I'm going to give some to the food bank. So that's a story of how the giving goes on. And I was surprised to hear her say that, but it was also good for the other new gardeners to hear. Giving to the food bank is important. It's a little thing we can do, but it makes a big difference.
We usually grow a bunch of beans at the end for the food bank, and then extra beets and stuff like that we just plant way too many, and we make sure that we can donate it.
有機耕種其中一個重要嘅元素就係製作堆肥，即係將被分解同埋回收嘅有機物質，例如廚餘、枯萎嘅植物等，作為肥料。
And it's important to compost. We need to give back to the earth instead of continually taking from it. And that's a key principle of organic growing, that we need to return to the earth. We cannot use everything and be so efficient that we have taken the nurturance away from the soil.
呢一個循環正好顯露咗生命之中接受同埋施予嘅互動關係，同埋基督信仰看待死亡同埋復活嘅態度。
And it's a beautiful message about this crop for this year. The cabbages, the beans, the rhubarb, the berries have given. And after they have given, then they die and they let go. And their very bodies will become a resurrection of new plants in the new spring. So it is wisdom that nature teaches us.
大型嘅農業集團往往只會種植利潤最高嘅農作物，但係當農地只種單一嘅植物，就會吸乾土地裏邊嘅養分， 對土地同埋環境造成長遠嘅傷害。有機耕種嘅其中一個理念就係要保持物種嘅多樣化，而呢一個做法正好保育天主創造嘅各種生物，令到佢哋能夠繼續繁衍。
There's a great diversity of plants in this garden, and diversity is one of the realities of God's creation. Monoculture is not the reality of God's wisdom in creation. So that is why we have a variety of plants in a plot, and they move them around because you don't want to have the same plant in the same plot because it might nurture disease. So you listen. Nature always plants in diversity and always has an abundance of harvest.
事實上，聖經裡面就充滿咗有關農業、耕種同埋大自然嘅描述。透過造物界，我哋能夠更認識創造天地萬物嘅天主。
Those are some beautiful lilies that are coming into flower at this time of year. See the lilies of the field and how they grow so beautifully and are clothed so beautifully. So Jesus told us to learn from the plants.
喺地球嘅另一邊，中國嘅西安教區有一位神父，亦都喺度積極咁推行有機耕種。佢就係陳瑞雪神父。佢哋開墾咗一個葡萄園，種植有機葡萄，用嚟釀製喺彌撒中使用嘅葡萄酒。
这个是我们为了做弥撒酒的。以前我们做弥撒酒是在外边买葡萄啊，现在我们有了自己的葡萄园啊，我们会每年都要做葡萄酒。教会用不了那么多啊，我们会推向市场，也可以卖啊。
有趣嘅係佢哋從種植葡萄到釀酒，以至入樽，都一手包辦，不假外求。產量雖然唔多，但係亦都足夠提供俾其他教區。
現在向我們訂購的也不少，內蒙古啊，今天還有從北京的神父啊，上海的、溫州的啊，還是不少，慢慢的在增多。但是我們賣的很便宜，一瓶只有30塊錢。有些西安教區啊，還有西安教區的2個神學院啊，他們都是免費的。
陳神父管理呢一個葡萄園最重要嘅目的，其實係用佢作為有機耕種嘅示範基地，因為佢清楚知道過度使用農藥對環境同埋人類健康都構成好大嘅傷害。
中國就是這個現代農業，這個化肥農藥使用量特別大啊！據說世界上的1/3的化肥，中國在使用。化肥農藥對土壤有很大的破壞作用，因為土壤是有機的啊，有很多這個微生物啊，一把農藥下去就殺死了，很多殺死。農藥對農民的危害也很大啊，這個身體啊、皮膚啊，直接對他們就是直接造成很大的傷害啊，更何況再不要說這些產品啊進入市場也是對身體不好嘛，所以這個推廣有機農業確實是迫在非常重要啊，我教會確實也有這樣的責任啊，這個尤其是很多教育也在生活在農村啊。
陳神父推廣有機耕種已經超過10年。佢更曾經去過唔同嘅國家學習有關有機耕種嘅知識同埋技術，但係佢都承認要改變農民嘅觀念同埋習慣係好大嘅挑戰。
不過確實是不是一件容易的事情，因為都在追求這個效益啊，因為這個 organic farming 也需要很多付出的啊，比如說這個堆肥呀，需要很多人力啊，所以需要一個過程。
正當陳神父喺西安努力咁推廣有機耕種嘅時候，喺另一邊廂，香港嘅范錦堂神父亦都喺佢服務嘅堂區聖雅各伯堂進行小規模嘅有機耕種。喺聖堂嘅梯間同埋天台都種咗唔少蔬果。
呢啲係菠蘿，咁啊我哋用啲菠蘿咧，真係雖然因為係有機啦，所以你睇啲菠蘿咧唔係好大隻，但係菠蘿係好靚好甜嘅。我已經食過種咗幾年啦， 所以第一次咧，差唔多成3年先去菠蘿。哇！我日日咁做，日日咁淋水，日日都望天打卦。哇！幾時有菠蘿咧？啊，終於2、3年之後，終於有菠蘿啦！我呢隻蘆薈咧係食得㗎，你睇係咪好厚肉啊？當要食呢蘆薈，我哋煲湯或者用入邊嘅肉嚟咧，可以做個沙律嘅。厚就多肉。睇唔睇到啊？係咪好大啊？要得2棵火龍果，火龍果唔需要好多泥土㗎，唔需要好多泥土㗎。咁已經夠啦，咁就可以出產火龍果啦。呢棵就無花果啦，睇唔睇到？嗱，有果㗎，1年2造㗎啦，睇唔睇到啊？呢啲無花果啊，雖然係細粒啲，但都係無花果嗱。
范神父熱愛栽種，其中一個原因係佢從種植嘅過程中，深深體會到天主嘅臨在。
做麥主嘅偉大，佢化工嘅偉大，真係睇住今年呢棵植咪咁細棵，1、2日之後大啲變大啊！你唔可以想象哦，原來一棵咁靚嘅植物，跟住就開花，啲花出嚟咁靚，你會覺得哇！天主係美啦，天創造呢個宇宙又美，每一樣嘢都係美嘅。睇到天主創造人類，創造植物係有嘅意義。有嘅意向。
幾年前，佢嘅堂區曾經喺聖堂嘅天台設立園圃，種植有機蔬菜。但係後來由於關注到天台使用量過高，會對建築物造成耗損，有漏水嘅隱憂，所以後來就只由佢同埋1位工友繼續種植嘅工作。但係范神父仍然積極推廣有機耕種，而基地就係聖堂下面嘅聖雅各伯幼稚園。
嗱，呢個園圃咧就係幼稚園嘅，好多時咧同老師啊、家長啊同學生一齊，但係本身咧佢都有好多嘅植物，譬如話呢個大樹菠蘿，有木瓜。
幼稚園利用有機園圃對小朋友進行生命教育、環保教育同埋綠藝教育，等佢哋透過有機種植，學識尊重同埋珍惜生命，建立正確嘅人生觀同埋價值觀。
佢哋都要明白到種植個過程，所以係一個和諧合作。和諧合作之下咧，你會生出好多靚嘢。嗱，家長同學生大家一齊合作，咁就會一齊栽種，到收成嗰時候，哇！學生又開心，爸爸媽媽家長又開心，所以人同天主關係係一樣噶嘛。我俾你打你，你打啲妥善事嗰時候，天主開心，你又開心，大地又可以盛產百五穀啦。
聖經裏邊嘅創世紀第2章記載咗天主按照自己嘅肖像，用地上嘅灰土創造咗人，將佢安置喺生長咗好多果樹嘅伊甸樂園裏面，叫佢耕種、看守樂園，參與佢嘅創造。
其實天主咧創造咗亞當夏娃，佢哋做大地嘅主人，佢哋要管理呢個大地。但係天主俾人自由喎，又俾人去選擇喎，你可做可唔做喎。你肯做的話，同啲合作的話，整個大地就好圓滿hòa。
現代大型嘅企業化農業對自然生態造成好嚴重嘅影響。除咗過度使用農藥同埋化學肥料會污染環境同埋農作物，更排放大量溫室氣體。而畜牧業更係排放溫室氣體嘅一大元兇。作為消費者，我哋可以點樣從食物嘅選擇同埋飲食習慣之中去保護環境呢？
So we have choices in our everyday life. We go into the supermarket, we can pick the organic vegetables. We can shop more locally going to farmers markets because that gives us a much better product because it's fresh.
We can start with very simple things, perhaps one meatless day a week, because when we consume meat all the time, not only does it pollute that sort of farming sometimes, but we also reduce the crops available to feed the hungry. So it could be taking one meatless day a week. Perhaps that could be our usual fast and abstinence on Friday. Our tradition, we can bring back our traditions.
There are good things on the horizon. There's far more people who are into organic farming, than there ever were. And many people are starting to grow vegetables again in their own backyards. It's amazing, even on a balcony on a high-rise in Toronto, you can grow quite a few things. Fresh peppers and tomatoes, and it's beautiful too.
農業耕種對一般城市人嚟講，好似係遙不可及嘅事。但係我哋大部分嘅食物都來自土地，所以農業其實同我哋每一個人都息息相關。好好咁樣去認識我哋食物嘅來源，同大地重新建立關係，會令我哋更欣賞、更愛惜天主賜俾我哋嘅資源，更願意為保護佢嘅創造盡一分力，讓未來嘅世代都能夠享用大地豐盛嘅產物。
天主叫我哋託管大地，神奇嘅地方就話有晒喺度啦，即係話已經有噶啦，我哋去唔去用，去唔去發掘，去唔去珍惜佢咧咁咯。
啲俾我做大地主人，點解唔珍惜？我哋做老闆喎，大地老闆喎，點解唔珍惜？有咗呢一個咁好嘅權利嚇，應該要做好自己，同天合作，同大地合作。
喺大城市嘅街上邊行走，唔難見到露宿者嘅身影。令人詫異嘅係唔少無家可歸嘅人年青力壯，咁點解佢哋要流落街頭呢？
原來社會有好多問題，有家庭嘅問題啦、家暴嘅問題啦，甚至乎一啲性侵犯。
有好多人佢哋自己真係冇選擇。
呢一個星期嘅愛常傳，帶大家睇下林嘉華同埋 Christina 點樣借住露宿一晚去了解露宿者嘅處境。
睇完呢一集愛常傳，歡迎大家打我哋嘅熱線電話嚟分享一下你嘅感受或者故事，同時亦請收聽我哋逢星期六嘅電台節目愛生命。要購買天主教書籍同信仰靈修禮品，請嚟我哋嘅生命恩泉書社參觀選購。我哋下星期同樣時間再見，天主保佑。